And welcome back to the True Patriot podcast, folks. We have another awesome guest with us here today. If you follow us on social media, a little bit last year, we did an impromptu interview at Shields when we were in Shields, Johnstown there with this fine gentleman here. He happened to be on hand. We met him there. The Colorado Kayak Bassmasters is run and directed by none other than Mr. James Strawbridge. James, welcome to the True Patriot podcast, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I can tell you folks firsthand, I fished, I think, nearly every event, last year in the CKB. And James from day one made me as an outsider feel basically like I have been here for years. Very welcoming, bringing us on board, getting us up to speed, teaching me about Colorado bass fishing because it is a different critter, and we'll try to touch into that a little bit. Just these highland, high lake reservoirs, man, they're a little bit different for a guy like me that was coming from freshwater, natural lakes. Completely polar opposite and different out here. So. But yes, so James is our tournament director out here, and beyond that, man, let's introduce you and what is it that you do for a living besides go hunting green and brown fish all over the West?
Well, by trade, I am I guess I'll call myself a contractor or a master craftsman. I guess I don't know. I'm a very small company. It's just myself doing basic bathroom remodels, addition, basement finishes, decks, whole house remodels is what I've been getting into lately. I got another big job coming up down in Louisville. So
how did I miss this? I need to talk with you when we're done with the podcast. I got some stuff. We're trying to figure out our budget and everything. How did I not figure that out? Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Nobody, top secret. It seems like nobody knows what I do. I get that question a lot. So what do you do for work? Are you like a professional fisherman? I'm like, no, that is definitely not it for sure. Yeah, I can't make a living doing this, but
you're too smart for that.
It could be possible. It could be possible. Yeah, that's what I do. Back in high school, I took some vocational classes in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And I knew right then that I was going to do some sort of building or creating in the building industry. So since I was 18 years old, I've had my own construction company, and I just did grow and go where I wanted to go. And I've come to a pretty good point in my life where I work when I want to work and I play when I want to play. That availability is there.
Dude, you can't beat that. Complain. No, you can't.
No, I've worked very hard to get to that point. So, I'm very thankful. Nothing taken for granted at all. Very thankful on that.
That's awesome, man. That is, and I know myself and many other folks as members of the CKB are very thankful for that, because you do give a decent and tremendous amount of time to making our season go nice and smooth, and make sure the schedule's there and everything's in line. So we're thankful for all your hard work in the past too, so that you can come out and play with us. So
yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for that. And I'll tell you what, I've ran clubs before in the bass boat world for the Colorado Couple Series for my wife and I years and years ago. It was a husband and wife type of format at a bass boat. But there's a certain distraction being a tournament director and fishing your event. But out of a bass boat, you can absorb a little bit of it. But in a kayak, everything this year, my fishing wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I know the reason is because I was putting a lot of focus on running the club and making sure everybody has an enjoyable time. And that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make, because to see everybody smile at the end and to be invited on podcasts like yourself and talk about a club that I'm growing along with some other people that are helping me, like Matt Flanagan and Matt Arledge did a great job, and James Francis was there to help a lot. That's rewarding. That's rewarding.
I bet.
But it's definitely different to fish your event. It's tough to fish and to be the tournament director. But 2023, I think I've got it down. I've got a system down. So I think I can fish a little more relaxed.
Well, and that's awesome. I want to also just touch on something that I personally found super, super cool. And that is, you mentioned about a couple series. Your wife comes to like every event I was at, she was there. I think I remember her at every one of the events that we had. This, she comes in and helps set up and helps run this thing with you. That is a super cool dynamic, man, to have that kind of number one partner out there helping with, to keep us afloat and dotting I's, crossing T's, and that and it to be your wife. I mean, that is super cool. Was that by design? Is that just something she's like, you know what, I'm tired of you leaving at 4 a.m, so I'm coming with you?
That's pretty much it. I mean, she really enjoys fishing. And when we ran the Colorado Couple Series for the ABA out of our bass boats, her and I were team of the year for 2008, 9. I think somebody else took 10 and 11. We were back. So I'm thankful, and I think some of you should be thankful that she's sitting on the sidelines, because she can fish. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of tournaments where I brought in 2 and she brought in the other kickers, right? So
yep.
It's not by design. She really enjoys it. She likes being a part of it. And bless her soul, man, she doesn't even like to sit at the hotel room while I fish for the day. Even practice, she'll come and she'll sit in the truck for the day at the ramp, and she'll just, fill me in. Oh, this guy came in, that guy came in. She, at tournament day, she's got a notebook and she writes down everything that happened minute by minute. And I try to get her to broadcast that and say, hey, we got a full-blown dossier, I guess would be maybe the right word, wrong word, I don't know. But she does a great job of writing down exactly who caught what fish, and it's all record. She really enjoys it, and I am thankful to have that support. Not to mention, it's great to have somebody there to help you load and unload and carry stuff down to the ramp for you.
No kidding.
That
kidding.
Huge part. It's like the pit crew. I build custom rods for Galaxy Custom Rods. I call us Team Galaxy. Without her helping me and running stuff, man, it's a team effort for sure. So I appreciate everything she does. And I would love to see more wives travel with their husbands. Maybe the husbands wouldn't want to see that, but some of the wives enjoy it and some really don't. But it's great. I appreciate everything she does by far.
Well, and I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I'm going to assume after getting to know a lot of these folks out here, we all appreciate her beyond words, man. She is a rock star at those events. It's a ton of fun to see. And like I said, I love seeing, that's one of the special things about our sport, is that it doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter. It's such an equal playing field. I mean, our state championship showed that you don't have to have 92 years of experience to get out there. I mean, sometimes having more experience almost hurts you in our sport. Sometimes, you overthink it or whatever. Leslie dropped the hammer on us, out there and made a convincing argument as to why she is flat out the state champ, this year. We're going to be having those two actually tomorrow. I'll be interviewing them, so that's I'm excited to get those guys going. Yeah, and
then I look forward to that one.
And then Friday we have an interview coming up with the Angler of the Year, Mr. Trev. We'll have him on here. So we're making a huge push for the CKB, man. That's we're lining up some interviews here. We'll drop these out in certain succession for sure. But so speaking of that, let's get into it. The Colorado Kayak Bassmasters. For those of you who are not aware, there are 2 major kayak fishing clubs in the state. There's the Colorado Kayak Fishing Club, and then there's the Colorado Kayak Bassmasters. Those are your 2 major options that are available. There might be other paddling groups or whatever, but when it comes to anglers and getting out and fishing organized tournaments, I believe these are the only 2 that are out there. You and I both are members of the other club as well. You fish those events as well. The CKFC, great group of people, amazing, very cool setup there. So there is a lot of crossover between the 2. CKB is a little bit more unique in that we do permit motors in ours because we follow the Bassmaster set of guidelines, and this is your pathway to the Bassmaster Classic, on a national level, which is a huge event. I mean, it's one of the biggest in our sport. So, having said that, how did the CKB come to fruition? How long has it been going, and when did that happen?
Let's see, 1, 2. I want to say in 2020 it was started.
Nice.
As soon as Bass got into the game, there was some talk between myself, Jason Duong, Alex Rojas, and these were guys that fished Colorado Kayak CKFC,
Yep.
right? So we talked behind the scenes, and no one really stepped up to get it going because there's a process. You got members, you got to file with BASS, you got to create the club, you got to line a president, and there's just this process, and no one really got it going. And then one day, James Francis, who was stationed in Wyoming and was fishing a lot of Colorado stuff, when BASS came, he contacted me and he said, "Hey, would you be willing to run a BASS club with somebody?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's been talk about it going on already. Just no one has stepped up. I don't want to put my name down as president. I just don't have time to do it right now. But if someone wants to put their name down on the dotted line as president, and then we'll start to get the other 6 members and we'll form this club through BASS, I'm willing to help out wherever I can." So James stepped up and put his name on a dotted line as president, created Colorado Kayak Bassmasters. And I do believe it started, I want to say in 2020.
I think that's when Bass got in the game. Yeah.
And it was late. James contacted me in the middle of September.
Oh,
he said,
geez.
"Let's form a club." And I'm like, "Form a club? The season's almost over." He's like, "No." He goes, "I want to have a championship. Let's do this championship so we can send people to the Bassmaster Kayak Classic." I'm like, "All right, that sounds good." I'm like, "But there's a process in Colorado, to get permits, and it takes insurance, and it's going to be some time." He's like, "We don't have time." I'm like, "All right, I don't know what to tell you then." He's like, "Let's go hold it at Red Willow. We don't need no insurance. We don't need no fees. The permit is easy. Fill it out and away you go." And I'm like, "Hey, guess what, buddy? If you want to handle that, go for it. I'll do everything." So, sure enough, like 3 days later, James contacts me. He's like, "I got us all set. We're ready to go for the championship at Red Willow." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Wow.
He's like, "No, we're doing it." So in less than like 3 weeks time, 4 weeks, James and I organized a club, got the members we needed, filed it with Bass, and set up a tournament in October, I want to say, at Red Willow. And it qualified at that time. BASS was taking top 10% of the field or top 5, what are the others. So we got to send 5 people. We had people from Nebraska, Kansas, and Colorado. It was like 25 of us, I want to say, fished Red Willow to qualify for that championship.
Wow.
So that's basically how it started. And then James, being in the military, he was shipped someplace else. And he's like, "I'm passing the torch on." And I'm like, "Oh, God." Because I know what it takes to run a successful club. Doing it with Sharon, my wife, for the ABA, for the Colorado Couple Series, there's a lot to it. And I'm like, "Do I want to make that commitment?" I said, "You know what? I think I want to do it for the people in Colorado. I think Colorado deserves someone who has experience running events, someone who knows how to put a schedule together, and another option for Colorado kayak anglers to fish a national event." Because now, like you said before, we have CKFC, who's affiliated with KBF, and they have their national championship. And now we have BASS for our Bassmaster Kayak Classic. So that's basically, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and both clubs, to also kind of tout one of the national trails that I fish, both clubs are now affiliated with the All-American Kayak Classic. So you guys are qualifying anglers from your rankings and sending them to their classic that takes place in the Midwest out there in Missouri, which is super, super cool. It's awesome to see that coordination working like that.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Josh is doing a great job out there at the All-American Kayak Classic. I made it 2 years in a row. I don't know if I'm going to make it this year or not, but we'll see. We'll see. Once again, that work is getting in the way, right? You got to pay the bill somehow, right?
Yeah, it does. It gets right in the way.
We'll see.
Well, awesome. So that's where the CKB came to fruition. So we're talking like a couple years now. Let's talk about this past season, man. I'm trying to go, pardon me while I'm pulling this up here. Colorado Kayak Bassmasters. I want to see. I think we still have last year's schedule up there, maybe. I thought we did.
It might have been taken down.
Oh, okay.
If you're looking at the Facebook page, I think
Yeah.
our IT guy or our second in charge, Matt Flanagan, who has stepped up and has done a great job for me and has taken a lot of stress off of my end. So I want to give a shout out to Matt Flanagan for stepping up and helping with the computer stuff, because we all know I'm so good with computers. So,
well,
Matt Flanagan for doing that.
That's right. That's right. No, it's that's a huge deal, man, to get, together you can get a lot more accomplished like that. So I'm actually surprised there's just two of you guys. Normally clubs have, more people involved there. So that's cool to see you guys, squaring this, and Matt stepping up to help out. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and you know what, Gene? That's actually by design. I've been around a lot of bass clubs, as you have, in the boating world. Yep. I see these giant groups where they have 6, 7 guys. Usually it's an odd number, 7 guys or 5 guys, and everybody's got an idea where the club wants to go, and it just creates a lot of friction and ideas, and nothing gets accomplished. So I'm not trying to rule this with an iron fist, but I don't want to have more than 3 people as directors or anything in this club at one time, because I want to make sure the people that come on board have the same focus as me in the direction where I would like to bring the club, so we're all on the same page. And someday I'm going to retire and I'm going to sit back from this, but and then they can take the club to wherever they want. But as long as I'm running it, I want to send it in a certain direction and let it take its own formation based on what the club members really want. That's my big premise, is what you guys want.
I was going to say, that's the thing that I wanted to point out, though. The way you run this club, though, is you immediately, when you come up with ideas, you bounce it off the members and say, what do you folks, like out of these options that are in front of us here? Talk to me, and that's the direction we're going to go. So you're moving it in the right way. There's definitely no iron fist. It's a matter of, what we as members, are looking for. So I pulled up, I'm a nerd with Excel, and I have all the schedules from KBF, All-American, Moyak, Minyak. I have everybody. And so I had the Colorado Kayak Bassmasters. So last year we opened with Horsetooth in May. And then there was Trinidad, Swanson, Red Willow, and Pueblo as the state championship. Horsetooth this year is the one we're finishing it up with. That's going to be the state championship up there. That's kind of a finicky bird, man. That thing can be hit or miss from what I've seen.
It can be, but once again, timing on that lake, and I'm going to just put it right out there, the best time to fish Horsetooth Reservoir is April, May, and then sort of into June. Then you start getting into mid to end of September, all the way through to middle of November.
Nice.
Game on. And then I really wanted to hold it in the middle of October was the original plan. But with hunting season and a lot of members doing things, I didn't want to encroach on that. But
how long can you put a kayak up there? I mean, will they allow you to still launch up there in late October?
Yeah, October 31st is the last day. So November 1st, they're closed. But with us having kayaks, we can launch, if we can hand launch anywhere or duck under a gate, that's all fair game. I mean, technically, we could go out to Horsetooth in January. As long as you want to duck under a gate somewhere and launch your kayak, it's not closed like Boyd is. Like Boyd Lake, when they close, nobody's on the water. You cannot launch nothing.
Stanley's that way too. After October 1st is when they shut down, no traffic whatsoever permitted. So Horsetooth, as long as you don't need a trailer, because like I trailer mine now, but I do have the ability to put a cart to them or the landing gear on it. And so that's what you're saying is that you won't have trailer access down to the water, but you'll be able to take the kayaks down. Is that right?
Yes. From November 1st on for our tournament, when we do our championship, the lake will be open and all ramps will be open. We'll have full access. And I do believe that's on September 30th, I think. I'm looking at my calendar here. That's going to be prime time. Those fish start to move off of those main lake points, and they start getting into those secondaries, and they start chasing the bait back into the coves. So what that does for us, that takes us off of the main lake as kayakers and puts us in the coves where we're away from traffic.
Where it's a lot safer,
That's my job as tournament director, to not schedule an event in the middle of summer when we're about to get run over by 4-foot rollers, right? I mean,
Yep.
that's safety is number one. And then the pattern to the fishery is conducive to those conditions. So I really think that championship it's going to be a good one. It's going to be tight.
Could be a
I'm going to say
slugfest.
Half to a quarter inch is going to win that.
Wow.
Separate.
Good stuff. Exciting. That's going to be a lot of fun. So we opened Horsetooth. I think Eric won that one, if I remember correct.
Yes, he did. Yep.
And then, so after that was, for me personally, Horsetooth was I want to say it was the final straw for me. I went out there and things just did not click. I had put in practice time. I had felt like I had done my work. Little did I know I wasn't even scratching the surface of what I needed to do on the kayak game. But there was execution. There were issues that I had. And so it was after that event that I canceled out of a couple events that I had scheduled with the CKFC. And I took 30 days of just getting out on my own and just going fishing. I wanted to stop the tournament game for a minute. I had to refocus things. I got some good advice from a couple pros out there. Joshua Deal and Jody Queen gave me some sound advice. And I really recentered things there. And then I think the next event I had there was an All-American event that I went to. Had a good tournament per se, but had just some execution stuff where I was learning. There's a lesson learned, in kayak, how you set the hook, all that good stuff. But then we went to Trinidad. That was the next one. This was one that my wife was supposed to come with me on. That was a tricky event down there. That one got a little funny here and there, and it was just fishing kind of weird. It seemed like.
Yes, it did, and that date that we actually fished that was an alternate date forced on me by the state park. I originally had June 3rd. Once again, that first week of June down in Trinidad, you've got those smallies in all phases of pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn. You get into that third and fourth week, that makes a difference with that water temperature. And we just happened to hit it where those fish were just scattered everywhere. There was nothing real solid that you could just pull up on and go, okay, I can go shallow and catch them. Oh, I can crank something and get some fish that were on spawn that I haven't eaten in 2 weeks that are ready. It just wasn't there. It wasn't there. And it, for the most part, honestly, was a shallow bite.
And that one was, we had it scheduled for the 18th. That was your second date that they gave you.
Yep.
Because you wanted the original. But then remember, this was the one that we got, basically the wind was ripping at like 20, 30 mile an hour on the 18th. Yep. So we got bumped to the following weekend, which happened to be another a tournament going on there that shouldn't have been going on there, but they were. Thankfully, that didn't get too much in our way. But yeah. Because that's not a big fishery, I gotta say. It's a beautiful lake, but it doesn't fish very big. It's like the areas to fish.
And that was the reason why I had chose that first week of June. I just know from water conditions, time of year, and seasonal pattern, those fish are in prime of all three pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn patterns, which makes it awesome for fishing. And then you get 3 weeks later when we hit it, it doesn't sound like a lot, but 3 weeks in Colorado changes an awful lot. I mean, it really does.
Well, especially in, I think, if I remember right, doing my research, Trinidad's recorded like the hottest place in Colorado ever recorded, I think, was in Trinidad at one time or whatever. Yeah. So it's like you get straight baking sun down there when it's coming in.
Yeah,
and one last note, I got to say, that was also the sketchiest hotel. Nice manager. I know the area I was in was just sketchy, dog. I had my curtains open, so when I laid back, I could actually see the back of my truck where the kayak was. I was like, I'm glad the wife didn't come with me on this one, actually.
You probably would have went to a different hotel and spent a little more money. That Holiday Inn or that Best Western or whatever, Quality Inn or whatever is pretty decent. But yeah, there is not a lot of quality lodging down there, so to speak. Definitely, if it's
they're clean.
for camping.
Right. Yep. For sure. So after we're done there, then we jumped out of Colorado. We went to Swanson Lake, Nebraska. That one was super fun. I got my butt kicked there. Just I gauged the wrong side of the lake, but I caught the biggest catfish I've ever caught. I got taken for a kayak rodeo through the weeds by that catfish because he ran right at my trolling motor. So I had to turn spot lock off. Yeah, that thing was every bit of 15 pounds, I'm sure. And it just was hauling me through the weeds, man. It was so much fun. But Swanson Lake, that one, I remember that the water was down on that one. It was a little low.
I was very disappointed on that because it's been up in the last couple of years. And when that place is at, I won't call it full pool, but 80% or more, that place is a phenomenal fishery. I mean, the fish are still in there. It's just the bite changes somewhere, some way, somehow. And I just haven't put enough time in there to figure that out. But the low water definitely hurt the performance of that lake or what it could have shown out to be, for sure. But yeah, they're definitely in there. Those fish are definitely in there.
Well, and that was the one that actually had some cover. So I could tell that, man, if this lake was up, all that structure that it was on that shoreline would have been under the water. There was a freaking like a 1920s or a early 1900 tractor sitting out there that you could actually see. I got some photos and video of that one. There was a baby stroller being exposed out there that like somebody exactly. I'm like, whoa. That was spooky. But
so, and for that reason, that's so low. I would have loved to put Swanson back on the schedule for 2023, but it's just not there where it needs to be. And I just don't see the forecast being there. If the water was up and it was fluctuating up and down to get more rain, it would probably go back up. But I don't see Swanson getting better for another year or two, depending on weather forecast. So that was the reason why I kind of got away from it on this year's schedule. But great fishery.
And after that, we went back to Red Willow. So that was kind of funny because I stayed in McCook, 26 miles back towards Colorado, or 27 minutes, I should say, is what my drive time was. Back from McCook, back towards the west was Swanson. But then Red Willow was only 15 minutes north of McCook. So I came back and stayed at the same hotel, almost got the same room almost, and stayed there, what was that, like a month later or whatever, 3-4 weeks. Yeah. Red Willow, now that was another one you guys kicked my butt on, but I was learning so much about these certain areas, and not knowing these lakes, is so much in the kayak. I learned that, that is such a big deal about picking your areas of where you want. I practiced in the area that the winners went. But when it came time to make my choice about where I wanted to go, I opted for the opposite side. I was applying the whole, go for the inlet type thing. But again, Red Willow was kind of low. And, obviously the winning seemed to be coming closer to the dam at that point, get down on that end. But Red Willow, that's an awesome fishery.
Oh yeah. And once again, I hit that in August, and I do believe it was August, wasn't it? I'm looking up at the schedule here.
August 6th.
August 6th. Yeah. That's a little late in the year for Red Willow. But once again, I went out of state on purpose to Swanson and Red Willow during those times to get away from Colorado so we could have events, because it's nothing against Colorado. Colorado fish is fine in the summer. It's just too many wreck boaters and everything else that's happening out there. And then once again, the pattern of those fish are going to be main lake points here in Colorado in the summertime, or they're going to go to those deep channels or those sloping banks. So that's going to put everybody out on a main lake, and I didn't want to do that. But yeah, I think Red Willow could have shown out even better than what because Caleb Zimmer won that with like 92 inches or something, right?
Yeah.
And Red Willow wasn't even standing
up. No, it was not fishing super strong. I do know that in practice, I hit like a 19 and a half largie off of a tree on my super trusty little finesse jig that I go throwing around out there from all terrain. That hit just a moose of a fish off of a tree. And so I was like, okay, I need to slow down here. I don't want to pick them all off the trees. Then come tournament day, I hit every dang tree that I could see in a country mile and not a single fish. That event marked the first time that I actually stood up in the unlimited for the purpose of fishing and not taking a leak off the side. And I was actually able to use my trolling motor to kind of control the front a little bit and sit there and pitch and flip with it and get used to that, going through that brush. So yeah.
Yeah, different angle gives you that. Standing up gives you a little bit more of a swing on a hook set in an upright position, rather than when you're sitting down, you kind of swing horizontal. And with a jig, you need that lift more than that pull, because you'll pull it out of their mouth rather than setting the hook up into their mouth, right?
And for me, it's target acquisition too. I can see pockets better when I'm up higher, and so that way it gives me something to target and get after. And I can, what I may have only seen 2 areas that I threw, sitting down. If I stand up, I can see 3 or 4 that I want to throw and drop into. So yeah. So we got done there. Red Willow was awesome. And then we had our state championship at Pueblo, where Miss Leslie, is it pronounced Ali? Is that how it's pronounced? Yep. She put the hammer on us here in what turned out to be an extremely tough fishing lake that day. I felt pretty good about where I had chosen to go because Caleb was actually right behind me coming up. And I'm like, hey, if he's fishing up here, I trust he knows Colorado waters, pretty well.
Yeah.
When going into that, for what it's worth, the way I looked at it was like, okay, state championship on what's arguably the best bass fishery in the state for Colorado. I mean, there's a claim that could be made that Pueblo is that. Yeah. Everybody knows Pueblo. I've driven through the town and I drove through the campground. That's as close as I'd been to the reservoir up until that practice day. So I knew I was behind the 8 ball with you guys. I'm like, I'm going to get my butt kicked by these guys. But just a ton of online information. There's a lot of blogs and a lot of stuff out there helped lead me kind of in the right direction. I camped on the south because I like their campgrounds better. With the electricity, and then I drove around to the north each morning, and just launched from up there.
So you launched from the north end?
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
And
I actually went to the south because usually you will find me at the north end. And in the practice, I just didn't find what I thought were winning fish or fish that could get me where I needed to be quick enough. I could scrounge out 5 and probably take a top 3 out of the north, but it was searching and pecking 1 and 2 here and there. When I went south and I put on that spinnerbait and I went around those submerged brush piles, it was game on over there. And it was like, okay, I can get 5 fast, and then I can start changing technique to upgrade into bigger fish.
I think
that was my game plan.
That was definitely where we were at. I think there was only one guy that really got a limit, and it wasn't a huge limit. I think it was enough for maybe 4th place or whatever. But that was Kenny. I think Kenny, he scrounged up a limit out of that north area up there. But he literally sat in one cove the entire day. Every time I'd come around fishing a different area, he'd be poked out. And as soon as I'd come around, he'd back in. So I couldn't see him. He'd back into that. I think it's called the hole. He was up in there. Fishing that. So,
and you know what he's doing there, that's great that you noticed that, because what he's doing is, Colorado is a timing fishery. As far as, like you said earlier, nothing fishes like Colorado. Like whatever you read in a book about bass fishing, forget about it in Colorado. It's not even close to the way it should be. But in Colorado, those fish, they move up, they feed, and they move back. They move up, they feed, and they move back. So it's very possible for a person to sit on one spot all day. But the trick to doing that is to stop fishing at some point. And it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. You're in a tournament to catch fish, but you need to stop fishing, have a sandwich, sit back, turn your electronics off, let those fish move back in and move back up, and then you can start picking them off, or back up out of the cove. Now, what Kenny was doing is, he's smart enough. He's been around this long enough. We have such small bodies of water and the amount of people. If he would have pulled completely out of that place, someone would have moved in. Those fish would have never moved back in. Right. So he was pretty much guarding an area, keeping it to himself, and then he'd go back in. So that's a very, very effective technique. And I'm going to throw this out there at Horsetooth as well.
Yep. Yeah, there's definitely those spots that you can figure things out for sure. And you're right that North was not producing a ton of size there, but I really in practice it was producing better numbers than what Caleb and I found up there. Caleb and I think I got like maybe one more fish than him up there, but both of us were scratching our head like, what in the heck is going on? Lots of small ones, but we just couldn't find the quality for sure.
Yep. And that's probably kind of the reason why I switched it. With the last 2 years, we've been down in Pueblo for the championship. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to beat it up too much or just be the only place that we go for our championship. So like you had mentioned, I switched it up and I brought it up north. There was actually talk of putting it up through the week up north to stay away from the chaos. But after further contemplating, I don't want to have people take off personal time to fish an event. I feel like we would lose participation. And that time of year in September for Horsetooth coming up next year, there's not going to be nearly the amount of rec boaters that we're going to see.
So right. I think after Labor Day, I think things start to, trim down too.
For sure.
Well, so that's a great segue. It takes us into, we covered several of these, but we're going to open the thing with Chatfield. Chatfield's huge. I mean, that's KBF's launched an event there. Old Chatty is, I've had a chance to get out there a couple times and not to fish per se, but, I was running my boat out there and, right. And looks like it could be a ton of fun. In April, that by design, getting us out to Chatfield there in April, hopefully the water levels will be up.
The water levels will be up. The water temperatures are going to be down. And, but once again, it's a timing thing. That place has got a lot of smallmouth and there are largemouth in there, but smallmouth don't mind the colder water.
Nope.
So once again, by design, all those fish, whether they're largemouth or smallmouth, that ice comes off. Those fish start moving shallow and they'll move shallower than you think they will. I think I was very, very impressed with KBF holding their event there with the numbers that the guys from out of state in Utah put up. Even myself, I took a second place at a Chatfield for the Sunday event for the trail series. That was mid 80s. I want to say mid 80s for Chatfield.
That's pretty good.
That's up there. That's up there. And once again, it was a timing thing. It's a timing thing. So April 22nd, it might get a little cold, Gene. We could have snow that day. I don't know. It could be 70 degrees. It's going to be a crapshoot. Let's just keep our fingers crossed for fairly warm weather leading up to the event to set those fish right. And then the day of the event, a little bit of sun.
You bet, man. I've got my NRS boundary boots on the way, so I'm going to be prepping. And now I just got to figure out: do I go the actual dry suit route, or do we, figure out something? I don't know, but we'll definitely have the boundary boots. So I'll be ready for that.
Yeah, for sure.
So then after that, we go just a couple weeks after that. Looks like we're turning around. We're going back to Lake Pueblo in May. That should be a ton of fun. Shouldn't be near as roasting hot as the summer events. And then this is the first cool one that I am super stoked that you did this. June 3rd and June 4th, we're going to be at Red Willow. 2 days, but 2 separate tournaments. That's super, super cool. That is going to be a ton of fun up there at Red Willow at the beginning of June. That should just be fire at that point.
Yes, 100%. And once again, by design, I wanted to get another Nebraska one in there. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to throw this out there. Elwood Reservoir is up the street from Red Willow. I guess I'll just call it north, sort of.
Yep.
I thought about going there, but talking to some of the Nebraska guys, it's a very finicky timing type of a lake, right? They draw it down real quick. Water comes in, they do what they do, and they draw it down. And I knew James Leggett with Central States Kayaks was going to be going there. And I didn't want to put too much back-to-back or put too much pressure on that fishery. So that was why I decided Red Willow twice. I think we're all going out there. We're all making – whoa, I'm falling over here. We're making the drive out there anyways, so let's just make it a Saturday and a Sunday. And here's something else that I don't know if you caught this or not. We're going to do a combined the side pot for a Saturday and Sunday for a combined jackpot. And I don't know how it's going to pay out. I'm going to have a meeting. We're going to do all that, and we're going to talk about it and put it up for vote for you guys. what that amount should be, what the payout should be, how much you chip in. But the combination of 2 days for a total grand prize winner on Sunday.
That's super, super cool, man. And it's tournaments like that. The All-American does similar things like that. They'll throw extra little incentives into these weekends. And the reason is they know we're all traveling so far to get to these things. So they just add when the anglers are taken care of like that from the tournament side, it just, in my opinion, it emboldens loyalty to that club at that point, or to that series, because it's like, hey, these guys, they do care about us. They want to see us having a good time, or have an extra shot at, earning some gas money or something, so no, man, that's a ton of fun. That's going to be a blast. This next one we're going to, I've never even heard of. I had to retype this 3 times because I want to say it's named something else on the map. Keith Sebelius.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Lake in Norton, Kansas. It's known as something else.
Norton Lake.
Norton. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yep. And I had it down as Norton. And when Matt Flanagan put it together, he put it down at Keith Sebelius, so they could get the real name of it and find it. We didn't know if it was going to be labeled as Norton, right? Gotcha. The city of Norton, or the town of Norton, is right up northeast of there. So it's Keith Sebelius or it's Norton. I'm with you. I have never fished there at all, but my years with Centennial Bass Club out of the bass boats, I've watched a lot of tournaments come out of there. It's close to home, and it's a great fishery. I mean, it doesn't get a lot of pressure. Smallmouth in there, largemouth. I don't know if there's spots or not. I don't know. So,
gotcha.
That should be a good one.
And then our championship, as you mentioned before, we're going to round it up at Horsetooth Reservoir. This is a fantastic schedule, man. This is, I almost wish there were more events, that we could, but obviously we have 1, 2, 3, 4 normal, and then a championship, and we are given points on how is Angler of the Year points figured for the club?
Angler of the Year is going to be best 3 out of, I do believe there's 6 events, Gene, counting the championship.
Oh, that's right. Red Willow twice.
3rd and 4th. Right.
Yep.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Let's just remember there's a possibility that a date gets canceled because of weather or wind, or trying to reschedule something and getting permits, or I don't know how that's going to go. So
Roger that.
Best of 3 is for Angler of the Year.
Plus the championship.
Yes, the championship is included in that Angler of the Year.
So what I'm saying is best 3 plus the championship, or is it just best 3 championships also could be one of those best 3?
Yes, the championship could be one of those best 3.
Oh, okay. So out of 6 events, only 3 of them, your best 3 events will be okay. Cool.
The ALY. Once again, there was talk about making it more because of the level of people that we're getting that are fishing this club and where the direction it's going. But once again, James Francis, who started this, he told me something that resonates in my brain all the time. Don't change things too fast because something's going in a certain direction. So there was talk of going 4 out of the 6 for AOI, but I still want to keep it open so people can have the flexibility of doing at least 3 of the 6 and still be in contention for the Angler of the Year, and not feel like they have to get a kitchen pass or spend all this money to try to run away and fish 6 events.
Well, and not for nothing, as much as we love the club, our numbers aren't super high right now. So we need, it would be fantastic to see twice the number of anglers, out there, which we could easily do. I think as people hear more about this and they see how affordable this is and how fun this is, dude, the fact that, usually for captain's meeting, if in any of these events we're going and having dinner together, I actually, I tell people at these national deals that was something that always used to kind of get to me, is that these guys will travel across the country and they're there for a social hour. That's their big escape. I'm not. When I'm traveling on a national trail going against these other pros out there, it's business. It is time to go to work. I get on scene. I'm not there to go have beers and hang out. I'm there to figure out a fishery, take care of my body, take care of my gear, and get the job done. the thing I love about the CKB is that you can go in here and be serious to get this stuff done, but you can't help but feel like a family in there. And meeting some of the other anglers, that's been some of my favorite part, was spending time and just watching people chat and getting to know people. Everybody that I have met has been unbelievably friendly. There's not been, I mean, pardon my language, but we're too grown. There's not been one asshat in the whole group yet. And that's pretty odd when you get that many fishermen together. Usually there's one clown in there that you want to drag behind the boat, but not one in the CKB.
Our personalities will really come out, right? Stick around longer at dinner, Gene. That's what you got to do.
That's right.
Flip off, right?
That's right. And so, yeah, I mean, that's super, super cool. It's a chance to network. It's a chance to get to know people, learn more. And I've always said, I'll go on record saying this. I've not had great experience on the boat world side of bass clubs. Nice people, good people, but ridiculously cliquey and ridiculously closed off to new anglers coming in. And there's talk like, some of our anglers have been here 10 years. You can't just come in the first year and expect expect to be welcomed in? I got to be here 5 years before I get a chance to get to know you guys. It's like, I'm not here I'm joining a bass club because I want to be with other anglers. I want to learn from you guys. Have you got, maybe I can contribute to the club. Yep. That's what you've created here. That's what we have with the CKB. And that's huge, in my opinion. This is what a bass club should be, in my opinion.
Oh, that's good feedback. And that's the direction I'm trying to take it. Because like we talked about before, my original plan, and it's still my original focus, is to give Colorado or any other surrounding states an opportunity to fish the bass side, right? That's why the club was started.
Heck yeah.
But it is definitely, it's going, the floodgates were open, and now it's starting to come back to size, and it's starting to take its own direction. And I can see where that's going, and I'm not going to force it. I'm just going to let it go its own direction.
Yep.
Like you had said before, all people are welcome, from newbies to, if Kevin Van Dam wants to come fish with us, I'll pay his entry. Right? I don't care. But the club is going where it wants to go, and we are getting some serious hammers, some serious anglers that are good fishermen in this club, and I'm proud to see the club go in that direction.
Yep. Yeah, and that's...
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
And that's what I'm looking for. I don't want to force it to one way or another. I don't want it to be a beginner club, and I want it to be an elitist where we all think that we're greater than somebody else. Because ultimately, everybody is welcome, but the club will take its own shape, and it's starting to get that way now.
Well, and we've said this, I don't want to kick a dead horse, but yes, these are some of the top anglers out here, but if you have a question, ask one of them, and they'll tell you down to the exact almost location they were fishing. There's, I mean, these guys, I've seen, the conversations going on here, obviously tournament day is tournament day, but when it comes to helping each other out, that's, yes, that's kind of the kayak community first and foremost. I've seen that across the board, but even more so with this, tight knit group at the CKB is that, hey man, if you're here fishing, then we're all in the same boat and we're just trying to make each other better. That's, like we talked before, iron sharpens iron, and that's what we're looking for. And if we can help better each other, well then shoot, man, we get stronger as a club. That just is going to help us, each and every one of us down the line.
Yes, for sure. 100%. I agree.
Good stuff. So we, real quick here, we are sending, did we get a confirmation yet? Is she going to be able to make the classic? Do we know?
Who, Leslie?
Yes.
Oh, she made it, like legally made it.
Oh yeah. She's in, but whether can she go?
She is saying yes. She is looking forward to it. When I talked to her on the side, she's like, I'm new at this stuff. She goes, and none of us are getting any younger. She goes, I have a great opportunity, and I'm going to take advantage of it.
Atta
So
girl.
I really, really hope, because Eric, her husband, won at Pueblo last year.
Yep.
And BASS kind of dropped the ball with dates getting out, where the lake was going to be, what the lodging was going to be. And Eric kept contacting me going, what's the deal? What's the deal? What's Bass doing? I'm like, Eric, I haven't heard nothing yet. I don't know. And then by the time BASS came out with the itinerary, Eric couldn't make it with work plans. So it just didn't work out. So I hope that BASS announces the location of the kayak championship / classic soon, so all anglers can go and make it.
Are they not going to do it like they did last year, where it's going to be on the same lake that the actual classic is on? Are they not doing that again? Or is it just in the proximity of that?
Yeah, it's in the proximity. It's not going to be on the same waters, because I do believe it's I want to say the championship, the kayak classic for the kayak part, is on a Monday, Tuesday, or a Tuesday, Wednesday. It's the same week of the classic, and they just didn't want us on the same water as the classic guys, which that makes sense.
Yep, for sure.
So we don't know where it's going to be yet.
Awesome. Well, I can tell you, I fished one of the national series at Pickwick. It's quite the event that Bass puts on, for sure. They obviously have the biggest name in our sport when it comes to those that are representing kayaks right now. Hobie Boss obviously has the most probably dollars behind it right now, but definitely when it comes to press and as far as endemic, it's hard pressed to beat Bass, from that side. And so, that is super cool. One last final thing I wanted to touch on that is going to be wickedly, wickedly fun to do. All-American Kayak Classic. I technically triple qualified for this thing. I qualified through the All-American Kayak point system. I qualified for fishing enough of the All-Americans, and I qualified through the CKB. And the reason I did is because they send the top 10. I ended up 12th in points, but they give the CKB a tournament director spot and a sportsman of the year spot. Well, you two guys landed in the top 10. Yep. So that rolls down 2 spots. So we're in. Now, The cool thing is that not only do we go there, we're going to be battling for a serious check, 10 grand plus that we're duking it out for. But we can we define and state our team name that we're going in, and they're going to take the top 5 anglers from each team, and there's going to be a team championship kind of awarded out there. Yes. I flat out, I told Joshua Booth, I told Tyler as well that absolutely, man, CKB. I'm going in all the way for the Colorado Kayak Bass Nation. Put me on that team there, and I'm hoping we get enough. I would love to see 10, 12 anglers from the, representing the CKB, or as many as we can get out there. Let's go do this, man. Let's go put on a show at Truman. It's a fun lake to fish.
Yeah, for sure. You're absolutely right. The only thing that I'm seeing is, like you said, double qualifying, roll downs, and then there's guys that fished with us and with CKFC that have finished. So,
they have to decide which club.
You got to decide which club. So I don't know how many guys are going to actually go. I got my list and I got my roster I can send in to Josh at any point. But I think we need to get together, or I need to put something out there and say, hey, who's really going to represent CKB? Do we have 5 guys? Do we want to create that team? Matt Arledge is another one who qualified, but he qualified through the qualifier, not through any club.
He can still claim that where he's from. He can announce what club he's with. He can go for CKB.
Okay. All right. No, that's good to know. So there's an option there with Matt. I know Matt's going. I know Trev said he's going to go. Kenny Hood said he's going to go.
Nice.
I'm up in the air. I'm up in the air on it just because I know where work is going to be going. That's a very busy time for construction for me. I start wrapping up jobs because I try to take off May, June in that type of area. So I don't know, Gene. I really would love to go because it is a great fishery. And I might be wrong on this, but he's also opening up Lake of the Ozarks. Is he not? I think it's not just Truman.
So if they're going to do it like the qualifier was, what they do is they allow all the way down the Osage River, all the way down to mile marker 65. So you can go past Truman Dam, down through the river, all the way down to mile marker 65. And you can get down in there. Now, where that comes in handy, in all honesty, is if the wind's ripping. Day one of the qualifier last year, I got lucky because it was a torrential downpour and windy. I fished down in one of those coves in the river. I went down there and I was fishing down in there. Didn't have the greatest for numbers down there, but I did spend about an hour of the day underneath a dock trying to get out of the lightning and everything else that was out there. But the wind wasn't near as bad as the guys that were reporting it up on the lake. They were getting hammered up there, getting thrown into shore. It was pretty rough. But yeah, man, it's there's a lot of cool things for Truman, and it's I know in a bass boat I hated it just because you are one little turn away from losing about $5-6 grand in a low end unit. You know, away it goes because there are just deadheads galore.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are. Yeah, I don't know how they run the Tebow arm. I don't know how they run that area. It's riddled.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I've been on 3 events in my bass boat there. And the first time I ended up idling for about 3 miles at 4 or 5 mile per hour during practice, scanning, making sure I had a pathway that I could run. But, you know, going up, it was just idle, and just, you know, bump, back up. Move my track this way, you know, so it's like, okay, now I got to remember I put a little stop right there, you know, stop sign marker on my graph.
Yep. Skull and crossbones.
Yes. Just like a minefield out there. It was crazy.
It is. I actually had to call James Francis. The first time I ever got hung up high centered was at Truman. I was over 38 feet of water and a stick around that big. I was riding a wave and I came up over, wham, right into the drive, and it wedged in the drive of the Hobie and was stuck. And I could see the tip of it from the top of the kayak. And I'm like, I'm literally centered. And I called James and I'm like, can someone come how do you get off of this thing? He's like, hang up the phone from me. He goes, grab your paddle. He goes and go slide all the way to the nose of the kayak. He goes and jump up and down and start paddling. I'm like, I'm going to fall in this damn lake, right? So sure enough, after about 15 minutes, mind you, I had a motor on the back. I've got batteries. I'm only 160 pounds. My boat weighs 160 before I even load it. I'm pushing a 230-pound boat. So I don't know by doing this if I was even moving anything, but 15, 20 minutes later, I finally got off. But talk about an unsettling feeling being stuck over 38 feet of water on a stick that big and not a person around to help you. I thought, I can't call the wife. It's going to get dark and she's going to be like, he's dead.
See, this is where all these extra cheeseburgers come into play, James. See, I lean on my boat and I'll break sticks like that off. No problem.
Yeah, I got to carry a chainsaw as part of my gear now.
Tell you what. Yeah, that's I've come close. I actually had a lay down get in one of my hull channels and kind of keep me from turning. It just kept locking me like almost like a bunk rail. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Trying to get myself out of there because I didn't want to go forward, but I couldn't turn to get out because that stupid lay down was perfectly fit up in there. Yeah. Yep. Well, that's awesome, man. So CKB is going places. We're going to promote the heck out of the thing. Hopefully we get enough people there, good representation at the All-American. That's going to be a ton of fun. And next year's schedule looks like fire. We had just over, what did we have on, I want to say, was it 60, 70 anglers this year that at least fished one event type thing, something like that? Or was it 50? Somewhere in that ballpark. I remember seeing something like that.
Around. I'd have to look at my registry and see who's actually, but yeah, we've grown since last year. Not a lot, but we've grown since last year. And I will say this, and here's something I would like to talk about with you guys as well.
Yeah.
I always want to grow the club, obviously, right?
Yep.
But there's a fine line where I really don't want to have 35, 40, 50 people fishing on Horsetooth or Trinidad or at Boyd or even at Red Willow. I don't know if if it can handle that kind of stuff. Once again, going back to Colorado Kayak Fishing Club, CKFC, they have huge numbers and huge turnouts, 50, 55 guys. Down at Trinidad, they had 46 people, and I don't know if anybody could move.
Right.
I honestly don't know, Gene. And that's where I see where their direction of the club is going. I want it to grow, but I also would like to keep it competitive and limited for fishing advantages so we all can excel and be the best angler we can be.
Sure.
Because you honestly can't be the best you can be when you try to do milk runs and you're moving all over in a kayak and you got a game plan. I want to hit this point, I want to hit that brush pile, and I want to hit that, and someone's on it.
Yep.
I mean, that you put all that time into practice to fish a certain way, and so many people show up that you can't get to your stuff, and you're not the best you can be. So where does it go? Do we grow the club to make it huge, or do we focus it and keep it a tight-knit group and maybe raise payouts? Maybe get things a little more involved for payout, because I'm going to throw something out right now. 2023, we are going to have a first, a second, and a third place payout.
Nice.
2023. I'm getting away from the payout matrix of only the 10% because we're getting such a small field.
Right.
Secondly,
right.
I'm also giving out the 13-inch shield that is behind me right here as first place, the ever coveted shield. But we are also giving out a second and third place trophy coming up in 2023.
Good stuff.
I don't want to give out what it is, but that is the big changes that are coming for 2023 for our club.
That's exciting stuff, man. And that is a trick that usually is handled by the body of water selection. But when you're in a state such as ours, where water is like gold in this state, we don't have a lot of it. What we have, we want to take care of it, type things. So in the boat side of things, when you get out of the local derbies and you get to the regional stuff like the BFLs, they can't host the BFLs on just any body of water because they're putting 150, 200 boats out there. So you can't do that. There's no place, maybe Wilson could handle it. Maybe, that's a lot of pressure, and I don't know of a lake around here that could handle that kind of, steam, from that many. And mind you, the kayak world, we're not going to have that many in these areas, but at the same note, when you put 30, 40 kayaks out, we're not fishing the main body of water. We're not going to be out running around out there. We're all going to be crammed into similar locations, and it's going to be little fly balls. We're going to look with bait balls of kayaks running around the place. So that's a real good point. Yeah. And you want to keep it, competitive, but yet still, to wrap this up, that's one of the reasons why I'm so impressed and thankful that you do take us into Nebraska, take us into Kansas. Yes, we're the Colorado Kayak Bassmasters, and we hit Colorado lakes, but let's face it, we're bass anglers, and there is just good options that are only 3-4 hours away, man. We'd be silly not to take that and go for it.
Yes. 100%. And that's another thing that I try to focus in the direction of the club. By leaving Colorado, we are creating well-rounded anglers within our state that when we do go out of state to represent a national event, and we're from Colorado, we don't know what to do when we see a field of lily pads. We want it to be 65 feet with clear water, drop down for smallmouth. So, going to Wilson, going to Norton, going to Red Willow, having that submerged vegetation, the lily pads, the trees, the brush, that gets us away from our normal comfort techniques of finesse fishing and gets us out and rounds all of us as better anglers and makes us all better. So the series is making us better, whether we know it or not.
Absolutely. And 3-4 hours is a drop in the bucket. I mean, I mind you, I live on the road throughout most of the season, but 3-4 hours is a perfect run because you can literally get done with the tournament and still make that drive home. You don't even have to spend an extra night. Can, even my old butt can, pull that off there. So I appreciate those for sure. So listen, man, thank you so very much for coming on here. Thank you for everything that you did last year, for that you keep doing for us out there. please know, me personally, me as an angler, the True Patriot podcast, we are here for the CKB in any capacity you need us to be, man. Just look at us like an asset. If there's something we can do to help promote, help tracking down people. Sponsors a huge deal. Sponsors, anybody that can step up and help the CKB with, sponsorship piece, you are hitting a very loyal and pointed demographic group by sponsoring the CKB for sure. It's just, that Shields has done, I know, a ton. This is the part we haven't had a chance. Shields has done a ton for us. They've done a ton for us over here at the Warrior Field Ops. Shields is always involved in stuff. So supporting those guys. What other sponsors have we had with the CKB that have helped out in some fashion or form?
Really, last year was just Shields.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I am not a guy to run out and ask for sponsorships or ask for things.
Yep.
It'll get to that point. I think I need to grow the club, send it in a direction, get the feedback like I'm getting from you, let the club speak for itself, and then companies, when I approach them, I feel like we'll have a better platform to promote their brand, so to speak. But I will say this year, someone is helping out, and I want to say who it is really bad, but the person doesn't want me to say who it is. It's a local guy that fishes our club. Someone is going to donate some money to pay for our trophies this year, so it doesn't come out of club fees.
That is phenomenal.
You're talking, especially this year with our 13-inch trophy, our 18-inch round for the championship, and our second and third, we're pushing close to $800, $900 worth of trophies that we're going to be handing out, which I think is important. People love the hardware. It gives us all something to fish for. And someone's helping out that, but they don't want the recognition. And I feel bad not giving them the recognition because that's part of the game. That's part of this history, but they don't want that. So I'm not going to say nothing. I will say this. I'm not supposed to say this, but it's going to be an exclusive here. There is talk, and you can't keep it hush on a podcast, but
right.
Waterline Sports is with me this year. Waterline Sports is working with me for next year to do something really, really cool. We're looking at trying to give out a kayak. I'll be honest with you. Not in the works. I'm working on that. I am welcome to all sponsors that want to jump on board. If we can help and we have a platform that can help their brand in any way, I'm not pursuing it aggressively at this point. I want the club to speak for itself. But once again, anything that CKB can do for you, for Romans, for the podcast, same here. The offer stands.
Appreciate it.
Put some stuff on our Facebook page. Use our platform. I appreciate everything you guys do for us.
You bet, brother. And so are you cool with, as we come across people and we're talking to people out there, if I send them your way as potential, to get information about the club, is that good right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll see if I can, in other words, it wouldn't be a cold call. They'd be calling you to talk to you about, what sort of options are there for them to sponsor, maybe name a tournament, John's Auto Mart at Pueblo Reservoir, naming rights, things like that. Give them that sort of press. I've got a heck of a connection, by the way. We're doing this on the podcast, but whatever. Paramount Printing down here on 120th. James Briggs is this dude's name that owns this place. This guy did what you see behind me here in about 24 hours. That was done for us. And the cost was under $70 for that banner. And that's not a deal. He's not cutting us a deal. That's his normal way of doing business. I didn't know this guy from Adam, and I think it was 24 to 36 hours. It was done. His process, they don't do graphic design services. They are graphic designers, but you got to come to them with the concept. Yeah, they'll organize it and make it work on the medium that you're trying to set up. But if you're willing to come to them with the art kind of ready to go, these guys do amazing work. So we could, I can connect us, with that piece there too for like any of these events. hang that off the banner off the side of the truck or whatever, wherever we're at one of those events.
Yeah.
Get that kind of piece in there. It's inexpensive, and I know it's who we use for Romans, to get that stuff done. Yep. So together, man, we can do I
love that.
Together we can do some awesome stuff, and anything to help keep this thing going. Cause I know like I said, I've found a home there for sure. We love what you guys do for kayaking just in general. So, well, listen, man, we can't thank you enough for taking the time with us here. I'm going to go ahead and let you get back to the family there. And, by the time we air this bad boy out there, you'll have probably already seen it. And there's like little to nothing that I need to edit out, dude. This was fantastic.
That's what I was hoping for. Make your job easy.
That's what I'm saying. I'm going to have to like put some special graphics in here, or something, make this exciting there. So
nice.
Before
once again, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for everything that you do at Romans and everything. That is unbelievable. And if you need anglers to show up to do something for kids or for anybody, for the veterans or kayaks, I'm on board with Waterline Sports as a personal sponsor of mine. I don't know how we could work something with them with Romans and maybe get kayaks on board for demo. I know you got that covered with New Canoe, but whatever. There's opportunities. Let's just stay in touch and let's get this and move forward with it.
Absolutely, man. That's we try to stay opportunistic as well. So we should absolutely talk for sure, man. So, well, cool. So we'll have you back on here, I'm sure, before the winter's over. We'll before the season gets kicked off and rolling. My season starts in March again. We'll be at Lake of the Pines in Texas. We'll be getting underway with those. But nice. We'll get this thing fired up, I'm sure. So, thanks, man. Tight lines, buddy.
Thank you. You too.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Yep. See you.